So you've obviously heard of SEO, but what about SEO? Well, that was what we alluded to yesterday. SEO stands for Search Engine Over Optimization. Well, it speaks for itself that sometimes you can over optimize your particular website or your Google My Business listing because you're so intent on trying to get certain keywords in, you're trying so hard to please the search engine that actually you've over optimized. And of course, Google wants things to be natural. In fact, your customers want things to sound natural. When they read your description, when they read your post, it needs to sound natural as if you're talking to a human being and not just stuffing it with keywords for a robot. So there's a balance to get. When we talk about SEO, we don't want to go over the top, the SEO. So in today's video, I'm going to show you what things you can optimize, but I'm also going to make it clear with some of the things you shouldn't be over optimizing. And also there's even been in the last year or two, things that we've spoken of in this channel to do that are no longer having any impact on Google My Business. So sometimes it's good to be up to date. That's why subscribing to this video and making sure that you give it a like button will enable you to keep up to date with your local SEO. Sometimes you can be so intent on SEO that you start to really complicate just updating your website or a post. In fact, you need to bear in mind this, never overlook the power of simplicity. Google has always kept things quite simple. Even though the algorithm is incredibly complex, they're not wanting you to work it out for yourself. They're just wanting you to present yourself as a trustworthy business, a reliable business with information that's accurate. And that's half of the optimization, is just putting the right information into Google's search engine. So what do we mean when we say about the old SEO or the over optimizing of certain things? Well, let's go right back to perhaps the beginning of SEO. 20 years ago, when the search engines were first coming about, you really could get a tremendous amount of credibility and a tremendous amount of traffic by just putting in keywords. And in fact, there are all sorts of tricks that if you've been involved with websites and a small business for many years online, you'll know some of these tricks. For example, they used to have it where if you had a white background on your website, you could put the keywords in a white text. So from the point of view of a user, you didn't even see the text was there. But from the spidering search engine, it still sees the text. So it reads the text with all these keywords, puts that into its database about your website, but visibly that couldn't be seen. So this kind of cloaking of keywords was done for many years. You know, if you did that today, Google would really black mark your website. It would not work at all. In fact, it would go totally against you. So if you're using the old SEO techniques of 10, 20 years ago, you could be doing quite a lot of damage to your website. Another SEO thing that's been done for many years is purchasing links from other people and paying for perhaps a farm of links to come to your website. And it's true, it does give it an immediate boost. But again, Google black marks a lot of these websites. And if they haven't been black marked today and they get black marked tomorrow, if you suddenly have all these black marked websites linking to your business, it's only going to do one thing to your business. So at this point, I just want to get a little bit of information from you, a bit of feedback down in the comments below. So you can tell me, what type of techniques have you used that you find no longer seem to be working with Google? What have you noticed that Google no longer values? Well, put your comments down below and I'll try and comment back on each one as well. You know, even this year, studies are suggesting that techniques that we've been using are beginning to be diminished by Google. As Google begins to change the algorithm, we're noticing a big change, a big shift in what things we used to do last year as opposed to this year. What types of things are those? Well, for example, we used to say about the keywords being in the description. There doesn't seem to be any support now to help that. Keywords in comments back to your customers and your clients when they give a review. Well, if they use the keywords, it's really helpful. But if you use the keywords, it seems that Google's no longer giving credit to that. Do you remember geotagging images? We've been doing that for a long time. And even though geotagging images can help when it comes to Google My Business, geotagging doesn't seem to have a lot of credibility any longer. It seems it's stripped out. If you want to know more about geotagging, basically what it's doing is it's putting the information into the metadata of that image to say that that photo was taken in a certain place. So cameras geotag photos and have them from the area of your business, even though they weren't taken from that phone. You could geotag them using a piece of software, but that doesn't seem to be worth doing any longer. So if you're geotagging photos, it doesn't appear to be of any benefit at this particular moment. That's not to say it won't change. Of course, Google do try different things, so you may still want to keep doing it if you want to, but it's not such a big win these days. And even a more recent one that's just changed is we used to talk about the index and citations and getting out there. And even though that's important to get good links and consistent links amongst all the big search engines and indexes, but citations and NAP itself, they used to be really important, but it seems again Google's diminishing the importance of those areas. So still get them, but don't put the importance that it used to have in there. So what types of things do you need to ask yourself? What questions are you going to be honest with on today's particular video? Well, have a look at your website. And when you look at your website, does the posts and does the text itself sound natural if you were to read it? Also ask yourself this, is your content sincere and helpful? Just read it as if you were a customer visiting your website. Another question, how much value do you give to your customers? So think of it from their point of view. Is it all about taking, or are you giving them something back? And are you able to build up the EAT? And of course, that's the proof of your expertise, the proof of authority, and making yourself trustworthy. So those are 4 questions that you do well to ask yourself. Reflect on them. Maybe after this video, go back to this part of the video and just think it through. But sometimes though, you've written, say, a blog, and you now want to put it on social media. And you're worried that if you put it, say, if you built a video for it as well, so you then put the video up on YouTube, and then you've got your blog as well, and then you've then got the descriptions that you fill out on YouTube. But do you use the same text in your blog? And then do you use that text on LinkedIn when you put the video on there too? And then you do a link on Facebook to that video and that blog. Do you use the same text there? And then maybe even you tweet it. So what do you do when you're trying to put all your content across social media? Well, there is a useful tool to stop the double content issue. Now, it could well be that Google doesn't necessarily view that as double content because it recognizes it's coming all from the same source. And it's often said that wherever Google initially finds that content, that's the content. And any other references to that content isn't considered double content as such. Double content, of course, is of concern to SEO because if you get seen as copying someone's content, Google can downgrade the information. It just basically says, well, what use is this when I've seen it 3 or 4 times on the web already? But there's a great way of gaining a little bit more extra credibility for the same amount of content. And that's a tool that I wanted to share with you today. So I'm going to my blog here, and let's just say, for instance, I wanted to add this to LinkedIn. So if I click on this, at the moment I've got some context in here. I've also got a video, and say I want to rewrite the description for YouTube, but I also want to use this information here, say my heading here, as the main thing that I'm going to use to get people on LinkedIn to come through to this blog page. So on LinkedIn, of course, I can just click on here. And if I then just put that straight into there, of course, it's just double content. It's not really giving any credit to, it's just literally doubling what's there. So let's now go to this tool here called Auto Writer, a really useful tool. And you just create a project. And once you've got a new project, you can then open the project as well. And what I like about this is it's pretty good value for money, but also you can get ideas, you can get introductions, bullet point expander, content rephraser, blog ideas. There's all sorts of things you can do here to rephrase things. I'm just going to rephrase that sentence. So if I just copy and paste, so this is a sentence from this here, I'm just going to put that in there. And I can choose what style I want it to be. Do I want it witty, dramatic, funny? I'm going to go professional. And let's see then what it can generate. And you'll find that it does regenerate it, and it's very good. So the phrase is Google My Business for Beginners video is a perfect resource for those who are unfamiliar with Google My Business platform. Now you need to then just check it, but normally it comes up with some great rephrasing ideas. So Google My Business for Beginners video is a great resource for beginners. Anyone who doesn't know about the Google My Business platform can take advantage of it. What a great rephrase that is. It's still got the same information, but it isn't the same words. And you can, again, go through these, see if there's any others. So I'm going to take that, copy that, and I'll just use that then on here, and I'll put that there. And now I'll link through to my blog. So if I take that and link it through. And that's just a really useful phrase there because it gives you blog ideas, it rephrases content. You can do long or short content. even descriptions for Amazon, SEO meta tags. There's a lot more Facebook ads and headlines as well. The headlines is particularly good if you want to try that. So I'll put a link down below if you wanted to try that out. But I've been using it for the last month and found it's been really, really good, really helpful. So let's just finish this off by putting that there. One of the tips is never to then leave the link in there once the image comes up. So the image is up, I've done that, but do put some hashtags in there as well and then post that. An easy way to read your content and yet not have the double content issue. So let's just talk for a moment about keywords then. So is keyword stuffing allowed? Well, no. When we talk about keywords, we are wanting a certain keyword phrase, maybe it's 2 or 3 phrases of a word. We are wanting that used, particularly if you put it in the title, in the first sentence or 2, or the first paragraph, maybe on an alt tag, and maybe use it 1 or 2 times on other headings. But it's got to sound natural. If it doesn't make English, that's not English. If it doesn't make sense in English, then don't use it. So that's something to bear in mind. Think in terms of if you had an itch in your back and you asked a friend to scratch your back for you, you want them to scratch it just enough to itch the itch. You want them to scratch it so many times that it becomes raw. And that's the thing, isn't it? With keywords, if you just keep chucking 20, 30 times the same keyword, you're just making it, rather than of benefit to you, you're over optimizing it. So that's the way to think about it. So why do we talk about keywords if Google wants keywords? Well, Google isn't actually after keywords. Google is trying to match your information with the right users. Google wants the right intent. So if someone's looking for something, they're trying to then find, using their keywords that they're searching for, other articles that talk about those keywords to the fore, but naturally. So it's got to sound natural to the person. And if the person goes there, sees this as being stuffed with keywords just to come up number 1, they'll bounce immediately off it. They're not going to hang around. Now, Google measures the bounce rate too. So that's why it doesn't work anymore, because Google knows that if an article is not well written, then the user will immediately return back to the search engine results for article number 2 or number 3. And if that article is well written using the keywords, then they stay on there, the bounce rate's not so large, and then Google starts to reward them and puts them to the top. So that's kind of how the SEO is working here now. It's much more to do with the user experience. I think from today's lesson, you can see it's a very fine line between using keywords for the right intent of the user, but keeping it as a user experience that's worth having. And what's the simplest way to check whether something's well written? Well, just read it through. Read it out loud. And does it sound like it's written for a bot or for a human being? So what is it you can do today as you go away from this video? Well, on day 16, I want you to first of all look at your website and ask, where is its overall focus? What is it wanting people to do? Which is the second point. Make sure it's clear what action you want customers to take. And then finally, look at your competitor sites and their Google My Business listings. What do they do better than you? So just check out and make sure that it sounds natural what you've written. Improve on it by looking at what others are doing well, and make sure then that overall the user experience is more important than the keywords being used in your optimization. But one of the greatest optimizations you can do is to make someone want to click on something because there's an offer there. And then there's 2 types of offers you can do on Google My Business. The first type of offer is the one that you're probably familiar with and you've seen it on plenty of occasions. But there's a hidden offer in Google My Business. And so on tomorrow's video, I'm going to show you where you can find that hidden offer. I'll see you then.